Y'all, this is Dr. KD here, and I'm really excited tonight to have a special individual that I kind of know a little bit. I'm only fooling. I'm excited to have IFBB Pro with me, Paul Lupinacci. Paul happens to be my current mentor and trainer for men's physique in a up-and-coming competition that I'm going to be doing in Florida. Paul, I met Paul primarily at another competition I did in August called the MaxFit Pro Show down in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. And, you know, I had seen Paul and I didn't realize really who he was other than the fact that he won his, and Paul will tell you all about the story, in his competition. And Paul won the men's physique. And then I saw Paul again, and Paul, you know, Paul's heard me tell the story a number of times, and didn't realize that Paul was at the Daytona Pro Show, which I also competed in. And a bunch of guys happened to be backstage, and Paul was one of those guys, and we actually took a picture together, three of us and four of us. And I had decided at that show to enter into the men's physique category, and never having done it before. And I liked it, and I did okay for the first time. So I decided to devote myself to doing that competition for 2024. And I forget, Paul, where I saw, but I was going through, I think, Facebook or some post, and I saw Paul's post of winning on stage at the MaxFit, and I said, why can I reach out to him? Because that's the type of individual I got to get to help me for the year. Little did I know that I had met Paul and taken a picture with him, several of them. So that's, Paul has been, we'll talk about that on this podcast tonight. Paul has been not only we've become great friends, but he's an incredible teacher and mentor and coach, most patient individual I've ever met, especially in this line of work, bodybuilding. And so, Paul, why don't we start by you kind of telling people a little bit about you, where you are, where you're from, and also maybe you can get into, you know, how did you get into bodybuilding in the first place? That would be, and also with that, how did you pick the men's physique division? That would be interesting to the audience.
Sure. I've been competing since 2017. I actually never really had any intentions of competing about 10 years ago. If someone was to tell me what I'm doing now, go back in time, I would think that they were crazy, you know?
Yeah.
I went to a chiropractor, a friend of mine who's also a bodybuilder. He's a pro bodybuilder, IFBB Pro. His name's Dr. Derlin Castro. And he actually put this bug in my ear to, you know, encourage me to do competing. And I think at the time, men's physique was only out for, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years. It was still kind of new to the bodybuilding industry. And you know, I found men's physique more to me because I never really had big legs. And I've seen some of these guys in classic and bodybuilding, and I could never put myself next to these guys. I wouldn't have a chance, you know. And then I found men's physique. I said, maybe I could try this, you know. And I basically wanted to do one show just to say that I did it, be done, get some pictures, and be on my way. And I never really had any plans of any long-term, you know, competing. So I competed in my first show, and I won. It felt really nice. And I guess, as Derlin said, I got bit by the iron bug.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, the bug. Let me ask you this question, Paul. Obviously, you were training and working out prior to, were you training and working out prior to, meeting the chiropractor or no?
Yeah, I trained for well over 20 years, long before I met him. It's just something that I like to do, it's good for your mind, as you know, as well as your body. And I basically I wanted to keep myself in shape, you know, but I never had any intentions of doing what I do now. And then I wound up getting involved in it, and now I can't stop.
Or-
Yeah.
Um, did you, when you decided to, because one of the questions that even, I mean, in my state that I was always asked was everybody always asks about the diet first. They never ask about really the training process. At least I found that to be true. Isn't the diet difficult? People say, what about the diet? What do you have to eat? Did you wrestle with that at all when you started out with your, training and preparing, or not really?
Yeah, being honest, I really knew very little about diet. I just a lot of this is trial and error. You ask, and as I said, this guy, Derlin Castro, a friend of mine, chiropractor, he taught me pretty much everything I know. And you do a lot of stuff. You go online, you look, you ask questions. But I didn't really know much about dieting. I didn't really know too much about it, and over time. But dieting is definitely you can't just train and not diet.
Mhm.
One thing, you got to do both. You got
Right.
to do both. Um, and I'm still learning. You still learn. You still learn. You never know everything.
Well, also the intricacies of the body, and the biochemistry of the body, which I guess you could say because you've been doing it certainly longer than I have, is which you always tell me as my coach, which is,
Yeah.
it's a science,
It is a
in
science,
which, your body responds from 1 month to 1 year. I mean,
right?
it's interesting in my short time to go back and look at my development of my body,
Hmm.
from when I started, even though I looked okay,
Right.
but, the finite components of, the different foods of how they alter your body, from one, no, no, not this. And then you learn. It's like anything else, I guess,
Right.
you
As I
know.
said, trial and error, and also keep in mind that we're all different. Sometimes a diet that might work for you may not work for me.
for-
Same as training. You got to figure it out.
Did Castro obviously, at that time when you started, because I'm sure he taught you all the different, or went over a lot of all the exercise in the program. Did he,
Mm.
did at that time, was he geared in your training specifically for men's physique class, or not necessarily, not really? Or is that something that you adopted certain exercises that he taught you to be able to get your body into a certain,
Well, I mean, I've always exercised and worked out. There was a few things that I wasn't doing that I incorporated in my workout routines, and I would always ask questions. Even to this day, I still call them up and ask them, and I ask them if I'm doing all right, if maybe I should stop doing these, because over time your body changes. You know, Something can happen, you can get injuries, and then there's certain things that you can't do anymore, as what happened to me. So, um, I mean, whether you're doing men's physique, classic, or bodybuilding, you're still training. You're
right,
still building your body. You're still bodybuilding. So, um, I mean, I think if you know pretty much about one of the classes, you pretty much know all of them. So, and the man is his knowledge is just far and beyond.
he just knows. So,
Yeah.
is he still, I would think that he is he still making dietary recommendations for you, or not, or you're more on your
Yeah,
own?
I asked. I mean, I learned a lot. I learned a lot, but as I say, each prep, this is my 12th show ever since I started competing that I'm prepping for right now. And I can't remember one prep that I have done that has repeated itself. Every time I do a prep, whether it be the weight training or the diet, is always something different, even if it's just minor. I've never done the same thing twice.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's just how your body, I mean, it's also how you keep yourself conditioned. You know, you're not going to be, you know, ready every day of the year. You know, I mean,
Right.
off season, you got to pretty much, I always like to try to keep myself, even off season, I'd like to say like 6 or 7 weeks out, just in case there's a show that I got my eye on and I want to, you know, flick the switch. I'm not too far off. So I try to live this lifestyle. I try to do it every day.
Every day.
You know, this is not just a competition. This is,
The
we're basically,
lifestyle.
yeah. I mean, people say, "Oh, you started your prep yet?" I said, "I never stopped." We're as long as you're in the gym, you're prepping every day, even off season. It's part of the, you know, I hate to use the word bulk. It's so overused, but bulking season. You know, you even when you're bulking, even when you're off season, you're still in prep. You're still, you know, it doesn't stop.
Right. Yeah. What's the ultimate goal there, Coach Lupinacci?
For me right now, as I said, I started out, I wanted to do one show, and here I am getting ready for show number 12. I wound up going pro in 2020 at Team Collegiate. It was a show that was supposed to be held in Pittsburgh, but due to the whole rise of the COVID, we were in the heart of the COVID problem at that time. So they wound up relocating the event down in Orlando. It was a show that Gary Udit put together. I just, at one point after I won that show, I said, you know what? I says, all I want to do is get my pro card, and I'm going to call it a day, ride off into the sun and be done with it. Right. So I got the pro card.
That didn't last long.
No, it didn't. And I remember I says to my wife, I said, you know what? Every time a lot of people get their pro cards and then that's it. I said, that's not the end. It's just the beginning. It's another
it's
another level. It's another page, you know. So I said, I'm gonna compete as a pro just one time. I don't even care if I place, just to say that I competed as a pro once, right? And I did my pro debut at the World Masters. That was in 2022.
The one in Pittsburgh?
Yeah. Didn't go so well. I think I placed 11 out of 15. I mean, it was a whole nother level as far as IFBB Pros and the NPC competitors. It was a wake up for me. It was a jolt. I was like, wait a minute. You know, it's like now I'm starting all over again. And I said, all right, I did
the creme de la creme.
Yeah, I did my pro show. I was like, all right, I did it, done. I was like, you know what? What if I was to just place? I want to place as a pro just once.
Right.
So then I went to the Max Fit, which was in 2022. And I came in third place. I said, wow, this is really, really cool. All right, I'm done. I placed as a pro. And I said, you know what? I'd like to win one show as a pro. And then last year I went back to the Max Fit and I took first in the 45 and over. And now I got my eyes on the Masters Olympia. So to answer your question, that's the next goal. That is what I'm working for next.
Again, I forget. I think you told me, but the Olympia, right? You have to be invited to compete in that. Is that right? Or is a system?
Yeah. And I don't really know what the qualifications are. I really don't know, but I'm going to work hard to try and rack up as many wins as I can. So hopefully I could be considered. I really don't know. So I'm going to stay active and keep busy and hope for the best.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Plus the upcoming Miami Pro Show that you'll be doing
Yes, that's June 1st. I got that June 1st, and then I have another one 3 weeks later
in Alabama, I believe.
in Alabama. That's in Montgomery. That's the name of that's called Body B1. So I'm gonna see how Miami goes. Hopefully all goes well, and then
Then you're on to
gonna,
Alabama.
yeah.
Hmm.
And as far as other shows later in the year, I'm still going over that in my head and with the family, and because this is not just, you're not competing on your own. I had two teenage boys, my wife, and you have to include everybody. This is
Yeah,
this
sure.
is the family, that we're a team. So I always make sure everything's all right with them, because this sport is not only one of the loneliest sports, it's also a very selfish sport, you know?
Yeah, no,
So
I hear you.
it's very time consuming, but I want to balance. I need a balance. I don't want to be so into my prep and concentrate. You need to put 100% into this, but at the same time, I don't neglect my family. My sons and my wife are priorities.
Well, I know that with you.
And honestly, without them, these things here, none of that really means anything.
Yeah, yeah.
It really doesn't. So if I'm lucky enough and I work hard enough and they recognize me to be considered for the Masters Olympia, if it not be in 2025, I don't make it. I'll shoot again for 2027, because they are bi-yearly, from my
Oh, is
understanding.
that
It's
right?
every 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, you're still a young guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this sport, there's really no
No age component?
it doesn't matter. Like, you could be
Doesn't matter.
50, you're gonna go on the stage with 35-year-olds, and if you want to join the Open, that's on you. There's no, you know,
It's like you tell me, right? First you're competing to be the best you.
right.
Each show better and better you, right?
Exactly.
That's what you tell me all the time.
I always say, when you're working, you look in the mirror. I said, that's the guy you got to beat.
Exactly.
You got to beat that guy. You know,
That's the guy, right. That's the guy we have to beat
you got
first.
to beat that guy. Because you don't know who's going to show up, and it really doesn't matter. You don't think of winning. You just
Yeah, that's why there was, for myself, I remember, back in God, 2000, 2024, 2021, I forget, when I competed in the, after Pittsburgh, uh, I remember that my coach at that time, which I didn't agree, but felt that I wasn't lean enough, which is one of
okay,
the reasons I didn't place higher, which I
okay.
found it hard to believe. But I said, okay, then if I'm not lean enough, I'm going to get leaner.
And this you weren't doing men's physique at the time. You were
No, I
doing
was doing men's bodybuilding.
bodybuilding.
My first men's physique was in Daytona this past August, whenever it was.
Okay,
And so I did on my own. So I had a month out after Pittsburgh, and I competed in the Allentown show. This was before I was pro, and I ate and I leaned out, and so meanwhile, and I prepared myself, and I got there and I was ready to go, and I realized, and some people have, but I was the only one in my age group
mm,
that compete in this division. But the point I'm making is that it didn't. Yeah, so I won and I took first place because I was, but in my mind, I prepared myself whether there was 40 people in the class, which is the point. I guess the point I'm making is that we prepare to be the best that we can, to be the best of our, as you say. So whether or not I was ready to go, whether or not, so I didn't feel, for example, some people I know, well, there was no other competitor in the class, but I showed up and I was ready to go. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
that was quite an experience, though. But then, and people went crazy. You know, my age I was, they were very supportive, and they asked if I would just, even though I won, if I would come out and compete with the 50-year-olds, which I did. So you know, it's quite an experience, and it still is. It's still something that. Let me ask you this question, Paul.
Sure.
What would be your record? You know, there's a lot of people. I think we talk about this sometimes when we train together. That you know, sometimes we want to help people. We see them training in the gym, you know, and you know that they may be hurting themselves a little bit, or the training process, or do you ever go up to them and
Um,
and I know you train, you have clients that you train apart from me, but
yeah.
I mean,
Um, from time to time, I it's a little iffy because sometimes you might have good intentions of trying to help someone. I mean, it's all in the approach, and you want to ask somebody if they need any help, but you don't want to come off like a wise guy, like a know-it-all, and you want to be sure you don't insult them, you know. So I mean, I try to see, you know, the energy and the vibe. You know, if someone asks me for help, or I had people come up to me and say if they're doing it right, or what do I suggest, what I recommend, and I'm always happy to help somebody. But I used to do it more often. I used to approach people more often and ask them if they need help or if there's anything, you know.
hmm
But I remember one incident. This is going back some time where I saw somebody doing curls. Some young kid, you know, he was doing the curls. He's rocking back and forth, you know. And you know, I said, hey, you know, how you doing? He said, you know, there's a better way of doing that. Maybe, you know, maybe if you just keep your back straight, you keep tension on your bicep, lighten the weight up, and you know, you work on your form. Oh, I've been doing this a long time. Yeah, I do it this way.
that's
Hey,
good.
God bless you, you know. So like I said, it's all in the approach, but I don't do it as much as I used to.
Wow.
If somebody asks me for help, I'll I'll help them out. I'm always happy to help somebody. You know?
What would be your recommendation these days of somebody that came up to you and said, I really want to do this and I want to compete in bodybuilding? What would you tell them?
First, I'd ask them, you know, what their goals are. What is it they're trying to do? How high do they want to reach? You know, if they have any experience in it, like how do they, you know, who got them into that, you know, or what sparked that thought. Pretty much the questions that you asked me earlier, I would ask them the same thing, and I would
And,
let's put it this way: if somebody's going to go up to you and say that they want to make a career out of this and be rich and
right,
famous,
right,
all
right.
me personally, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of competitors and bodybuilders and in the sport that have made a success and are doing really well. But if you're getting into this to be rich or whatever or make money, don't do it. You got to love doing it. You got to do it because you love the sport, because you enjoy it. But if you're getting into this solely just because you think you're going to be rich and make a lot of money,
Yeah,
that That's not going to happen, you know.
They'll spend a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, it
I mean,
costs money. It costs money. It's always nice to see if somebody can sponsor you, or
yes,
if you have the money to do it, that's great, but I mean, you got to think, you got to pay for if you're out of town, you got to pay for the room of the
sure,
place.
right,
You got
travel,
to pay for the tan, the divisions, the plane, and a coach. Um, you know,
yep.
but
It's
it's
quite.
something.
We know
Uh,
that it's quite a commitment, but we do it because we love it, and
that's what you got to love it to do it. You
that's
can't just like it a little bit.
that's right.
You got to love it.
Not just it's not just the competitive component; it's also the health benefit that it
Yes.
provides for us. Which is a pretty unbelievable thing. You know, but hmm. Okay, Professor, Coach, a lot of good information. Uh, so let's say in closing, what
Mm.
would be your closing remarks that you would want everybody to know?
Well, just to look out for me, and wish me well, to see what I can do, and I always thank everybody for their support, time, and love, and just if you like doing this and you want to get involved in doing it, you got, like I said, it's got to be something you love, and
To also tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
yeah, I have an Instagram. It's Lupinacci Paul IFBB Pro, and I also have a Facebook. It's the same name, and it's an open account. It's not a private, so they can find me on that, inbox me, or DM the message, and I check it pretty frequently.
Regular.
Yeah.
And also, Paul, I don't remember, are you available for training virtually, or you don't do virtual? Or you do?
Yeah, I could do virtual. I have more, in person training, but I have a few clients that I train
That I do
virtually. Sure.
virtual. Okay, that's
Sure.
good to know.
Yes.
That's good to know. Awesome. So for me, the I just want to say to the transformational process for me in my work with Paul has been absolutely phenomenal, and
Thank you, Ken.
a whole for the every a whole different um, physique component is called for in men's physique than in the bodybuilding, being men's bodybuilder. It's interesting too because, as you know, of taking on a posing coach, she still there's some habits that go back to, my, the way in which I had to pose in men's bodybuilding. It's interesting that, but it's been quite a journey and quite an experience as we get closer and closer
Well,
to
I,
show.
I got to tell you, Ken, I'm plenty proud of you, and it's you making it happen. I mean, I can only show you certain things and tell you, but it's you putting in the work. So definitely, I'm
Yeah,
proud
no,
of you.
well, thank you, Paul. It's right. You're a
Yeah,
great
I
coach.
think you're doing a great job. And as we say, is like, people say, "Oh wow, you're doing good for your age. You're doing good. You're doing good for
Any
you."
age, is that what it is?
Yeah, like, what is that age? I don't. What is that? What does that mean?
Well, that's what you always my thing is age is just a number anyway.
Age. I remember when you told me, like, "Oh, I'm 71." I said, "So?"
So, so
And yeah,
I can't do anything about the numerical number. It's just
no,
simply
it's all right. It's
I
it's
can do.
only a number. You're doing great, Ken.
Right. So thanks, Paul.
And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to help you, because it's it's enjoyable for me to see these changes in you, and
That's
and
amazing.
you progressing. Every time I see you is always a step forward. And as I say again, I can't stop expressing how
No, no,
proud I am of
yeah,
you. And I
pre,
and
that means more.
you're to me, you already won
Yeah, I know
because
you keep telling me that, but which
you
I'm much, I've adopted it. That's it.
yeah. As long as you're up, you're in the gym, and you're doing what you got to do. You're winning. You already won.
Right. That, and that's, I think that's an important point to tell the people watching this is
Yes.
the biggest thing is to get your mind to get out and go to the gym,
Right.
and that's the first step. Just get there, make a decision to do something to help yourself.
And it doesn't work just for people like us that compete. Just to keep yourself in
Exactly.
shape and healthy. And I apply these habits in everything I do in life. I mean, I live this way. I try to have everything organized and situated because as we don't want our bodies sloppy, we don't want our life sloppy. We gotta. I try to do everything in an orderly way. It keeps me grounded in many ways.
Right. Same here. Same here. So good advice. Okay. I think we're good.
All right, Ken, thank you so very
Thanks,
much.
Paul, for your time, and this will
Thank you.
reach a lot of people and help them. And
Yes.
certainly, I'm sure people will see you and reach out, and we'll do this at another point. Maybe we'll do another one after the show and talk about it and see and
I'd love to.
share
Yes.
our insights and what we learned and things like that. So
Sounds great.
thanks again, Paul. Good.
And thank you, Ken. Thank you very much.
All right. So
Thank everybody for listening too.
well, all right. We'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. Take care now.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.